After ditching his noble baggage last season, Arthur, now operating under the edgy alias note, embarks on a brand new adventure with Jasmine. For 2 solid years, the only thing spreading faster than disease in the vibrant guild halls were tales of a mysterious masked swordsman. Most of these washed-up adventurers dismissed the stories as bullshit, but one drunkard swore his buddy fought alongside the swordsman and his companion, Jasmine. The guild morons couldn't believe legendary feats were possible without some sparkly finger-waving, even when the friend insisted the swordsman used zero magic. Rumors swirled that he was in legendary for solo-clearing dungeons, that made veteran B-class hunters cry for their mommies. Not a single one of these dumbasses could wrap their head around the simple fact that the masked figure was just a dude who was really, really good with a pointy stick. Naturally, their tiny, jealous brains concluded that Jasmine's constant presence meant she was the one doing all the heavy lifting. The guild adventure just assumed she was carrying this masked freeloader. Then there's this motherfucker, Termin, a walking pile of muscle and ego, who loudly claimed he could easily snap the masked swordsman in half. Meanwhile, Arthur's identity as note sparked a nationwide debate, with the most popular theory being that he was Jasmine's personal student. But that theory shit the bed when everyone remembered this student had shot up from B-class to A-class faster than a goblin on meth. Frustrated, intoxicated, and deeply insecure, the adventurers concluded that he must have just honed his skills to reach A-class. For 3 years, one dumbass in the crowd said, "For 3 years I've been stuck in C-class for 3 fucking years." As a B-class himself, he felt Termin's frustration. This masked swordsman was a walking, talking you suck sign pointed directly at their stagnation and glaring weaknesses. Amidst the rising shit-talking, the tavern doors burst open, revealing the very boy at the heart of their pathetic gossip. The masked swordsman appeared, and Termin, seeing his chance to prove his dick was massive, slammed his drink down and eagerly grabbed his weapon. His friends, who shared a single collective brain cell, urged him to calm the fuck down. Termin hurled insults at Arthur, who ignored his existence completely and just walked past him. Enraged at being snubbed, Termin swung his blade in a cowardly, lethal strike aimed at Arthur's blind spot. His strike hit absolutely nothing but air. It was unclear if the boy dodged like a god, or if Termin was just that fucking incompetent. Arthur's icy glare turned and chilled the big man to the bone. It was a look that promised a world of pain. Termin, seething with rage, charged his sword with some sparkly wind magic, determined to actually hit something this time. Arthur evaded every single pathetic swing with insulting ease, not even bothering to unsheath his own blade. Finally, Arthur's patience snapped. With a swift, brutal motion, he severed Termin's fingers from his hand. The man collapsed, screaming in pure terror, as Arthur's chilling presence silenced the entire room, suffocating the adventurers with its sheer pressure. Completely unfazed, he asked the terrified waitress for a sack of rations, gathered his shit, and walked out, indifferent to the screaming fucker he had just humiliated and maimed. Arthur, smooth as sandpaper, nonchalantly blamed the slow service. Jasmine's keen eyes immediately spotted fresh blood on Arthur's mask, but he just lifted it to reassure her he was fine, as if that explained the impromptu blood splatter. That afternoon, Arthur penned a heartfelt letter to his parents. He apologized for ghosting them for 2 years, recapped his adventures, and expressed excitement to see, hoping Vincent wouldn't be too rough on her before she joined the academy. Amusingly, now her senior, he vowed to get even stronger, probably still salty about losing that last arm-wrestling match with his dad. Having recently advanced to the light orange stage, Arthur credited Jasmine with refining his wind magic so it didn't suck anymore. While he coached her in swordplay, they basically just taught each other how not to die. True to his word, this was his last dungeon quest before trading in the chaos for the soul-crushing boredom of school. He sealed the letter with heartfelt affection, intent on sending it soon. Jasmine assured him that sending a letter was safer than risking his family's presence at the perilous dungeon. She asked about Little Bond's presence, but Arthur revealed's telepathic communication had become quite articulate. She had told him that she would reunite with him when she was ready. Had ventured around to sought strengthen for herself before school began, prompting Jasmine to refocus on their mission. She and Arthur hurriedly pressed on, only to be inconveniently paired with irksome party. The brat who railed Arthur last time. A burly, mustached leader eagerly steps forward to introduce group, genuinely thrilled to meet the famed masked swordsman in person. Reginald Bastion, an A-class warrior, boasts about his party's skills, though Jasmine and Arthur are well aware of prowess. Reginald introduces Creole Masser, a water attribute serving as their defensive shield. Elijah, an A-class warrior with earth powers, and Oliver, an arrogant healer in A-class. Samantha Tempest, an elegant A-class water, joins them. She told Arthur how she had dreamed of meeting the legendary masked swordsman. The charismatic leader has just ascended to the rare AA class and will command the team in their upcoming dungeon raid. He asks Jasmine and Arthur to introduce themselves. Jasmine asserts her prowess as an AA class, specializing in wind magic, cementing her role as a reliable team force. Arthur, revealing himself as an A-class warrior with fire magic, surprises Samantha, who didn't expect the masked swordsman to wield elemental powers. Arthur casually reveals he has chosen not to use his magic for personal reasons. Inquires about their gear, asking if they possess a dimensional ring for luggage management. Both shake their heads. Asked if he could help out, but was hit with a big fat no. Oliver told that his inventory is full of Samantha's things, but Elijah's storage is open, so he agrees to help. Arthur is secretly amazed by Elijah's dimensional ring, a rare and costly relic forged by the legendary mages of Cyrus. These rare artifacts could fetch thousands if they were to be sold in open market. Arthur's grateful smile makes Elijah blush. Preparations completes, the group enters into the dungeon's damp depths. Urges everyone to stay alert upon reaching the first level. Was by the lack of monsters in the supposedly dangerous dungeon. Cautiously, the group navigates the silent cavern until a falling rock seizes their attention. Gazes up in horror at swarms of grotesque lurking on the ceiling, thinking how these pesky little things would really haunt them to death. Jasmine swiftly shields Oliver as Creole erects a defensive barrier. Orders the team to form ranks as they descend. Oliver swiftly casts healing spells to halt worsening injuries. Elijah hurls earth spears at the monsters as fiercely slices through them, but they soon realize their energy is being wasted. Like the dumbass, he unleashes a fire cyclone, taking down the remaining in one strike. Frustrated by the need to conserve mana, questions if grasps the situation they were in. Being the little bitch that he has said, that he saved everyone's asses just now, so what was the problem? Dismisses the debate and urges the party to move on before more beasts return. Arthur remembers the dungeon teeming with immortal undead creatures, thwarting adventurers from retrieving mana cores. Monsters relentlessly swarm adventurers in the rewardless dire tombs. Navigating the dim corridors, recalls the route from his previous exploration. Arthur feels assured of their purpose and direction in this perilous place. Asks Elijah to carve handholds for the steep ascent. The party collaborates, scaling the handholds until everyone ascends to the upper level. Told the group that the last time he was here, he had only reached the second floor before retreating, making everything beyond uncharted territory. Suspects the secret to this endless rebirth lies close by. Creole boldly claims he's ready to risk everything for his prize. Vows fair reward for the mission's completion, guiding the team deeper until Arthur abruptly lunges to shield Samantha from a hidden threat only he perceives. Samantha remains composed as others wonder why he didn't warn them about the traps. Is shocked he'd confidently claimed there were no traps during his last visit. Oliver inspects Samantha, who reassures him she's fine, then shifts focus to Arthur as he inspects the projectile. Arthur declares the trap an attack by a mana beast, alarming the group to the escalating dangers. Urges heightened vigilance as the dungeon's unpredictability looms. Venturing deeper, the team reaches a strange, red, smoky zone. Quickly realizes the scene differs from his memory. Not the steam, but a denser force unnerves him in the cave. Arthur told the group that the sensation enveloping them isn't heat, but a powerful pressure. Entering the volcanic chamber, they are surrounded by countless geysers when suddenly, the entire cavern shakes violently, leaving everyone bewildered and alarmed. Even is baffled by the sudden quake. An enormous erupts from the ground, towering over them in terrifying glory. The healer panics as swiftly commands Creole to act. Creole, undeterred by his size, springs into action, conjuring a protective water sphere around the group. The shield grants them time to strategize. Is shocked by the unprecedented power of the mana beast, while Creole is equally perplexed by its sudden appearance in the dungeon. As the men argue, the launches its attack but unexpectedly retreats underground, suggesting they're no longer its target. The arrogant healer insists on advancing to investigate the artifact, ignoring repeated warnings to stay put. Even Samantha finds his actions absurd. He confidently strides away from the team. Arthur's senses were telling him that there was danger ahead. Urgently, he orders to create a heatwave barrier and seizes Brawl by the collar. Under pressure, casts the barrier just in time. Aimed near Oliver, the attack erupts with a forceful geyser that engulfs and incinerates him instantly, just as Arthur is about to warn him. Samantha swiftly conjures a water barrier to control the explosion. Stands frozen in horror as the group stares at their healer's charred remains. Arthur quietly collects Oliver's mana crystal from the debris and hands it to Samantha, directing her to insert it into her wand. She swiftly complies as Arthur urges a quick retreat. Even Broad can't deny the urgency. Staying means certain death for them all. Racing for the exit, the party faces their monstrous foe once more, blocking their path. Urgently commands Creole to raise another water barrier, but the now fiercer worm prompts Elijah and Samantha to unleash a joint stun attack. Elijah unleashes his stone serpent grasp to halt the beast. The impact is minimal, startling even their leader. Swiftly changes strategy, rallying Jasmine and Reginald for a joint attack. Energized by fire, he directs Jasmine to distract the creature, setting up Reginald for the final strike. Should this fail, Arthur will launch further attacks. Charges in, slicing the worm with blazing blades. Jasmine unleashes precise strikes, wounding the monster. Reginald bashes the shit of the monsters with his giant hammer. All the while the little bitch remains paralyzed by fear shitting his pants. With no fire spell proving effective, Arthur decides his only chance is to unleash his fire's full potential. His blade ignites in fierce orange flames as he charges, landing a critical slash that shatters the worm's teeth. He told Jasmine to press the attack. She retaliates by ripping into the creature's other side, their combined assault making the worm roar in agony as blood gushes from its wounds. Commands to strike again, but the worm abruptly burrows underground. Takes pride in their safety and effort, while Jasmine told everyone to hurry, saying that they need to get the fuck away from here as soon as possible. Was still high on his overconfidence, saying that the bug must have their power and was possibly gone for good. His overconfidence crumbles as the earth trembles violently again. Arthur is horrified to realize the worm's real strategy was to drive them into the path of another deadly eruption. The team swiftly erects barriers for protection. Jasmine can shield Arthur, but at the cost of leaving vulnerable. Arthur boldly sacrifices himself to protect, conjuring a timely, fierce wall of fire. As the eruption subsides, retaliates in fury, shoving Arthur aside in a childish outburst. Unfazed, Arthur turns his attention to, gravely injured after sacrificing part of his arm to shield his teammate. Samantha averts her gaze from the horrific wound as screams in agony. Arthur wields his blade, while his friends frantically work to stopping the bleeding. Cries out while Arthur swiftly takes action. With him stabilized, Samantha moves in to heal their leader. Masked swordsman Creole, ever kind, sits by Arthur and offers him a cherished sandwich to lift his spirits. He told Arthur that he always carries these sandwiches for tough times like this. Arthur eagerly roasts the sandwich with fire magic, filling the air with a mouth-watering aroma. Even Creole can't resist a bite of the warm version. Sharing a quiet moment over a lovingly prepared meal, Arthur reflects on Creole's fortune in having such a devoted partner. As silence envelops the duo, chaos erupts as blames their injured leader. Enraged by the loss of their leader and healer, unleashes his fury, declaring he sacrificed his arm to save Samantha. Is berated for failing to raise a defense, but Arthur, his patience spent, interrupts with a sharp retort, dismissing skills as an ore. He sees only a liability weighing the team down. Storms off in frustration, as Reginald calmly advises their leader to rest. With gone, Arthur confronts Brawl, demanding a final decision. Reginald thinks for a while, and said that the damage is not that great so. The team remains battle-ready, but the leader is critically injured. Arthur insists on a clear response. Brawl, teeth clenched and eyes locked, declares his unwavering resolve to complete this final dungeon raid. Samantha expresses her doubts, aware that battling one-armed is nearly impossible. One of the top insists he can still contribute without being a burden. Yet, he urges Arthur to lead the team, trusting the boy's capability amid uncertainties. The team swiftly endorses the leadership shift. Arthur took the command, ordering a 1-hour rest. After a brief rest, the team presses on, but fresh obstacles constantly catch off guard. The tunnel ahead was always clear. Reginald's weapon slices through the air, yet barely scratches the surface. Harnessing the earth element, he unleashes a powerful blast. Jasmine taps his shoulder, readying her, and proposes they combine their attacks despite the small spiral outcome. Unleashing a dual assault, they break through the tunnel's barrier, forging a new path. Blinded by a sudden brilliant light, they unexpectedly stand in an unfamiliar forest. Arthur quickly realizes something is amiss. The ceiling stands firm despite the absence of support pillars. The forest blooms with vibrant flowers and serene resting spots. Creole suddenly announces his drowsiness despite their recent rest. Arthur urges the group onward, his instincts warning that something is amiss. Creole hesitates, yet Arthur's instincts remain on high alert. Jasmine glimpses a cloaked figure and briefly falls into a trance, snapped out by a sudden loud bud. Creole drops his weapon, eyes locked onto something. He saw his late wife appears in the distance. He sprints to her, ignoring his teammates' urgent pleas. Arthur races after him, but couldn't catch up to him. Jasmine stops Arthur, revealing the mist's illusionary manipulations that heightened his senses. Arthur swiftly gathers everyone, revealing the mist's mind-altering effects. He instructs Samantha to create a water barrier to counter the illusion. Samantha nods as she quietly inquires about. Reginald somberly discloses that perished long ago in a dungeon raid, and that he and Broad personally laid her ashes to rest, making this impossible. Reginald urges a swift search for Creole, testing patience. Furious at senior members for abandoning formation despite the strict plan. Arthur turns to Jasmine, who trembles as he asks if she saw anyone too. She confesses to seeing a mirage of her father. Seeing her struggle, Arthur comforts her, promising everything will be all right. She offers him a sincere smile, and feeling encouraged, Arthur requests her wind spells to clear a path through the mist. She conjures 2 wind orbs and drives forward with magic. Arthur orders Samantha to lower her barrier as Jasmine releases the Banshee's howl, a precise wind blast carving a path forward. Clearing the path, the group is shocked by massive vines that suddenly appeared, untouched by Jasmine's wind spell. Strikes first, igniting crescent ember flames to scorch the vines. To his dismay, the vines swiftly regenerate, leaving the fire's impact fleeting. Arthur commands Reginald to shield thee, as they prepare potent spells. Arthur infuses his blade with mana, signaling and Jasmine to strike together, as they all fiercely slash through the vines. Trapped briefly, Arthur unleashes a vortex slash to escape. Channeling more mana, he unleashes a powerful attack, halting the vine's regeneration. Seeing success, he urges to scorch his weapon, but is shocked as charges in, swinging wildly without a plan. Arthur watches, who, losing his composure, fights with the desperation of a man ready to die, eyes on Jasmine. Arthur notices her handling things smoothly and hurries to aid, who is soon utterly trapped. Arthur frees him, asking if he truly plans to waste his life here. Arthur implores him to fight wisely and survive, as they still rely on him to conquer the dungeon. Downs a mana potion, and unleashes his full power with a flame spell. The attack, though weaker, spreads wider and ignites easily. Arthur is truly impressed by newfound prowess. Reginald warns Elijah of the oncoming vine, but swiftly regains composure, shielding Elijah. This allows Elijah to cast an earth spell, cracking the ground and trapping the vines as they sink into the fissure. Together, their magic halts the plant monster, allowing Samantha to cast her spell and find their missing teammate. Samantha unleashes Aqua Siphon, her unique skill, to draw water from the surroundings. In this battle, she deftly drains moisture from the vines, making them shrivel and weaken. Despite the spell's success, Samantha collapses in exhaustion. Arthur swiftly catches her, and praises her cleverness in turning a utility spell into a weapon. Their relief shatters as the mist surges back toward the vines. But vines in an instant as if nothing had. Even this little shit was shitting bricks now out of fear. Arthur realizes the vines absorb the mist under relentless attacks. Arthur turns to find the vines twisted into a colossal eldritch nightmare towering above him. Arthur's sword drops as terror paralyses him before this monstrous nightmare. Gripped by terror, Samantha instantly concedes, realizing the Elderwood Guardian legend is a horrifying reality. Everyone loses their hope. Just then Arthur notices the fool has snapped once more. Reginald's eyes widen in disbelief as he faces the insurmountable threat of an S-class mana beast. Horrified, they see Creole as a vessel, his life force fading while he cries for his lost wife. The team is frozen in despair. Helpless, the Elderwood Guardian crushes Creole underfoot as Reginald screams his friend's name in anguish. The monstrous colossus unleashes a chilling roar from its layered, death-promising mouths, while Reginald, consumed by fury, snaps as if witnessing his best friend's demise. Arthur realizes this madman will be destroyed if he attacks the monstrosity. Arthur urges a retreat, but Reginald, consumed by rage, hammers him aside, deaf to reason. The man encases himself in stone, becoming a living fortress. A fierce battle ignites as the colossal giant unleashes a swirling vortex of vines towards him. Arthur urgently commands Elijah to shield Reginald, but the monster's onslaught shatters the barrier instantly. Jasmine clutches Arthur's hand, urging him to escape from the formidable beast. Arthur remains conflicted, his heart bound to his comrades. Elijah's barrier teeters on collapse as he sacrifices his life force to sustain it. Arthur recalls his promise to the team, while Jasmine, teary-eyed, implores him to honor her vow to his family. Jasmine clings to Arthur's promise as the barrier shatters, vowing to protect him at any cost. Reginald endures the assault, cursing the monstrous plant as he rises. Arthur knows retreat is wise, yet refuses to abandon his friends. Jasmine reluctantly agrees and readies herself to support him. Reginald clashes fiercely with the vine-clad colossus. Reginald's golem armor shreds the beast's vines, drawing a scream of agony. Meanwhile, the team was busy dodging the vines. Reginald swiftly slices through the approaching vines from behind. Still, the monster ensnares him tightly. Arthur clutches Samantha's frail form, commanding Elijah protect Jasmine, ensuring her escape becomes their top priority. Arthur turns back to face the motherfucker that made their life. Terror engulfs them as they witness Reginald ensnared. Arthur asks to burn the vines and rescue their teammate. This little bitch aims his fire staff at Samantha. Arthur throws his body in the way to protect her, causing the spell to pierce Arthur's body. The story flashes back to unveil the vine's earlier attack on. Struck down, he swiftly recovered, realizing their hopeless defeat. Spotting the exit within reach, he watched his teammates battle fiercely for one another, but his Wake's family pride surged, clutching his staff with resolve to survive the cursed dungeon. Aimed at Arthur, he fired at close range, sending Arthur hurtling away with devastating abdominal injuries. Jasmine, horrified, rushes to shield him, tells her to stand down, then seizes the moment of distraction to unleash another fierce beam of flames, striking her forcefully. She collapses to the ground, is cornered as coldly targets Elijah with his staff, ready to burn him down at the slightest movement. Elijah asks what the fuck he is doing, but little bitch sees his life as superior, expecting his teammates to gloriously sacrifice themselves for his escape. Faces the crystal. Elijah, fueled by rage and determined to uphold his reputation, is poised to demolish. Before he acts, the Elderwood Guardian strikes him down, leaving the team teetering on the brink. The monstrous plant relentlessly tears into them, leaving their conditions critical. Elijah rejects this as his end, summoning his remaining strength to rise and forge ahead at the critical moment. The AA-class hero arrives with his sword ablaze. Flames engulf the vines, shielding Elijah. Once a leader, he now embodies the protector he was meant to be, fiercely guarding the young adventurers from death. The monstrous plant roars, yet the blazing hero marches forward, his resolve unshaken. With a fiery blade, charges fiercely, leaping to deliver a wrathful, scorching strike on the towering beast. Amidst the battle, Elijah shifts his focus to Arthur and Jasmine. His desperate final attack cleaves the Elderwood Guardian in two. But this motherfucker started regenerating almost instantly. And within, he was looking down on everyone with his terrifying gaze. Trapped, he sees the creature's tendrils closing in, his fate undeniably sealed. Meanwhile, Arthur gasps for air, blood trickling from his mouth. His mask slips away as his dimming sight barely catches Elijah kneeling beside him. Elijah eyes Jasmine, both incapacitated, then fixes on the crystals, seeing only one desperate path, yet doubts survival. Arthur taps into his final reserves and unleashes the ability. Entering Phase 2 of the Dragon's Awakening, his mind races back to the land of elves, where relentless training unleashed his latent power. He first unlocked the Acquire phase, enabling a momentary detachment from time and space using innate powers. Despite depleting his mana and leaving him weak, Arthur's second breakthrough, a feat spent decades mastering, was miraculously achieved in just 3 years. This marked the integration phase. With his body transforming and hair shifting in color, his newfound power emerges. A fully grown dragon now, she defies her papa's plea to stay back, sensing his distress and soaring toward him, prepared to retreat to Vincent's if needed. But wasn't having it as she rushed to Arthur's side. Believing he'll return, she yields to his words as he limps toward the eldritch creature, climbing a boulder with determination. Overwhelmed with emotion, he casts an ice spell, channeling all his focus to freeze the S-class beast and launching the first strike, reminiscent of during Arthur's integrate phase, aiming to swiftly end the battle and reduce the backlash. With potent ice magic, he temporarily freezes the vines, but they shatter through, forcing him to cast Absolute Zero, immobilizing the creature and giving him time to channel 3 elemental powers into one devastating strike. Purple lightning surges from his palms, obliterating the beast's head and disintegrating the vines. Victory comes at a cost as he collapses, blood streaming from every wound. Mission accomplished, his life fading in distant while his family confronts their own destiny. Collapses from intense training, tucked into bed under watchful eye, when suddenly a glowing ring fills both parents with dread. His mother desperately hopes it's a malfunction, not a real warning. In the dungeon, Arthur awakens in agony, blood in his throat, as Elijah urges him to shatter the crystal in his glove. Elijah complies, unleashing healing magic that frees Arthur's frozen hands. Despite the relief, Arthur's mind races back to betrayal and the traitor's abandonment, then shifts to worry for Jasmine, gravely injured and vulnerable. Elijah stabilized her burns, but internal injuries endangered her life. Arthur urged using the second crystal, and Elijah obliged, healing her significantly and sparking hope for a swift recovery. Arthur recalls the childhood pain evoked by his mother's gift, while, noticing his recovery, heads back to the dungeon, only for Arthur to urge her to concentrate on her training now that the threat is over. He gently reinforces the command as the connection fades. Elijah checks on Arthur, who jokes about running a marathon despite his frail state. Elijah is surprised to discover the masked warrior is his peer, while Arthur mourns his lost mask, but is relieved Elijah found his sword. Arthur deeply respects Elijah's selflessness, but Elijah humbly insists leaving would equate him to. Elijah's curiosity sparks as Arthur reveals his motive, a promise to protect and never turn away. Intrigued by Arthur's mature perspective, they ponder his past. As the dialogue unfolds, Arthur learns he's been unconscious for over a day. Facing the weight, he decides to connect, offering his hand with a smile, introducing himself as Art. This gesture sparks a new friendship, with Elijah reciprocating and sharing his heritage. Arthur had deduced this from his metal manipulation skills, which included the shelter upheld by the Elderwood Guardian's corpse. Though few can summon metal from thin air, a dwarf can. Elijah admits his secret is out, leading him to ask Arthur why his hair turned white and eyes glowed purple. Arthur agrees to explain if they exchange secrets. Elijah reveals he is from the kingdom, raised by Elder Radius who spoke little of his parents, leaving him with faint childhood memories. His life was calm until a power surge knocked him out, and he awoke surrounded by metal spikes, prompting Radius to urge him to travel the continent without explanation. Elijah confesses his abilities remain a mystery, feeling an unsettling pull linked to his mysterious origin. As Arthur prepares to share his story, Jasmine's loud snore interrupts with a sleepy murmur, making both boys laugh. Elijah, realizing the mood, apologizes for being too serious. Arthur, unfazed, reveals his mastery of 4 elemental magics, specializing in augmentation with ice and lightning, leaving Elijah in stunned disbelief. He was sure he'd lost the title of the weirdest one. Arthur reveals his markings are from being a beast tamer who released his companion in battle, leaving Elijah stunned, especially since Arthur is only 11, a year younger than him. Despite his lack of pride, Arthur can't suppress a grin as they laugh at each other's quirks. Battling residual pain, he uses the last healing gem on himself just as Jasmine awakens. Seeing his dire state, she rushes to him, guilt-ridden, apologizing through tears. Arthur's gaze softens, assuring her it's okay, embracing her, and affirming his choice to stay and fight. He notices her fragility in his arms and exhales a pained breath, heightening her worry. Jasmine urges Elijah to fetch their supplies from the storage ring. Grateful for her emergency kit, she bandages Arthur until he resembles a mummy, healing wounds and lifting spirits. Assisted by friends, Arthur rises as they ready to return. Stepping out of Elijah's metal shelter, the outside is entirely frozen. Arthur inquires about other survivors, only to discover that and Reginald perished, dimming hopes of any escapees. Jasmine's inquiry about Samantha burdens him with guilt. Elijah admits he encased her in metal before they were separated, uncertain if she survived. Arthur questions her destiny. Desperate for escape, he hunts for the S-class beasts buried in the icy ruins. Elijah, determined to find her, channels his energy into the earth, invoking the Earth's Pulse spell. It emits signals to detect life nearby. Fortune strikes as he spots Samantha, prompting a quick dash with Arthur and Jasmine in pursuit. Elijah soon spots the metallic cocoon he encased around her on Earth. Prizing it open, he calls out, finding Samantha battered and burnt. Elijah reaches in as Arthur told him that these injuries were caused by the vines and were extremely fatal. Arthur is relieved she's breathing, though her fever is worrying, but thankfully this was a good thing, otherwise her survival might have been uncertain. Elijah wonders if unconsciousness is a blessing, as Jasmine gently lifts her, suggesting they head back. Arthur scans the area for the beast core, but his search is futile. The ground trembles beneath their feet. Elijah braces for battle, but Arthur swiftly intervenes, sensing the danger. The dungeon's ceiling shatters, revealing in her majestic form amid the falling debris. Arthur is awestruck by her fierce transformation. Fondly licks Elijah's face, tousling his hair as he reacts in surprise. Perplexed by a four-limbed wyvern, he soon discovers it's something else entirely. A genuine dragon. Arthur introduces her, as while telling everyone to keep meeting her to themselves. Jasmine is unfazed by Smessy affection, but Elijah is astounded by Arthur's immense power and his dragon companion. They quickly hops on too. Arthur urges Elijah to climb aboard, and they escape the boss lair, landing safely outside. Elijah quips about why they didn't unleash this beast from the beginning. Samantha awakens on the ground, glimpsing Arthur unmasked for the first time. Finding him even more appealing, Arthur gently urges her to rest and recover. She reveals securing the beast core and preserving his shattered mask, both bringing a rare smile to Arthur's face. He proposes sharing the core sale profits, but Jasmine flatly declines. Everyone shared the same thought: Arthur deserves it more than anyone. Declining any share, Arthur argues the core immense worth, yet Samantha insists he takes it. Grateful for his courage, they entrust the core to him. He expresses gratitude for their trust, checks Samantha's pulse one last time, and urges Elijah and Jasmine to seek help, as Elijah leaves his emergency bag with Arthur to ensure he's ready. Arthur discovers a mana scroll among the supplies and seizes the chance to reassure his parents with a message. With the message sent, he finds peace knowing they'll be there when he returns home. Arthur questions swift growth, suspecting it stems from devouring numerous beast cores. She confirms, revealing her relentless hunt to attain this formidable form. Intrigued, he inquires if she can still transform, and with pride, she shifts back into the tiny lizard he remembers. The familiar companion climbs up, and he gently strokes her head. Reunited but weary, Arthur's injuries worsen as he awaits help. He trusts the newly secured beast core will stabilize him until then. Leaning back, he recalls the name. Who came from a family of assholes, he recalls the stunt he has pulled causing death and almost destroyed their party. Arthur wanted to slap his stupid face, but leaves it for the future. The rescue team swiftly arrives and aids the group. Samantha races to the hospital as is pronounced dead. Arthur heals as his companions relay the harrowing tale to the... Arthur's frustration mounts as the guild delves deeper into their report, despite his exhaustion from reliving the trauma. Grants a brief respite until awakes, ushering chaos with his guard's intrusion. Jasmine and Elijah were ready to end this chapter today, but Arthur gestures for them to wait, pretends innocence as irritation mounts, questioning how they survived and accusing them of sacrificing someone for their escape. He casually tosses around Samantha's name, then labels as a mere pawn. At the height of tension, Arthur's blade slices part of ear. Immediately protests, playing the victim, while Arthur stands, eyes blazing with fury, dominating the room with his presence. Despite warning, Arthur calmly steps forward, retrieves his blade, and feigns misunderstanding. Trembles, frozen in fear. Told his assistant to take to the infirmary, as Arthur asks for a private moment with the Jasmine and Elijah hesitantly emerge, fearing for his life, as cautions Arthur against provoking the Arthur's stance is resolute, as he coldly questions ability to shield from his impending transformation. Calmly states he's safeguarding Arthur and his people, warning that acting now endangers Jasmine, Elijah, and others linked to him. The family refuses to remain quiet, and formidable half-brother is beyond Arthur's current strength. Recognizing his wisdom, Arthur accepts the truth and confidently presents his terms, knowing the guild can't afford to reject him. Pledges his support. As Arthur exits to meet Jasmine and Elijah, they show relief about survival, but Arthur shifts the mood by admitting his hunger, leaving unease beneath their smiles. Arthur and face the jury. After reviewing the reports, they conclude betrayed his party, stripping him of his rank and banning him from adventuring forever. Reluctantly, he hands back his card. Arthur remains unfazed by the lenient punishment, convinced deserved harsher consequences. The panel scrutinizes Arthur's actions against, considering the threat to the family. Their ruling, ban note from the city until finishes at the academy, a decision Arthur secretly wanted despite his feigned objections. The jury upholds his adventurer status for his honor and courage. He must stay away while is in town. Fears notes hidden identity, suspecting danger. The panel agrees to record Arthur's identity secretly, with only a few aware, keeping it from the family. Seethes and protests, but nobody listens to him. Leaving, he warns Arthur to keep his distance, but was not in a mood to play he shot a death glare. Storms off in anger, while Arthur, on the verge of being escorted out, is personally led by the panel's head. Through a secret passage, once the door shuts, it's revealed the entire scenario was a premeditated plot. Arthur appreciates their persistence, yet the court warns the truth won't stay hidden from the family indefinitely. Arthur, however, promises his vigilance beneath the facade. Another secret passage opens, hinting that this favor might demand repayment one day. The masked swordsman nods, promising never to forget their support. The elder acknowledges warning about Arthur's fearsome nature just as he opens the door and is joyfully tackled by, with Jasmine and Elijah waiting nearby. With everything settled, it's time to return home. Elijah told them that he wanted to visit Samantha before leaving. Arthur advises against it for himself, but urges Jasmine to check on her later. At the gates, Elijah realizes their paths will soon diverge. Recalling Arthur's outsider status, he extends an invitation to hang out before school starts. Elijah bristles with irritation as he explains a school, never having imagined attending one. Arthur's plan comes as a surprise. Arthur reveals that joining the academy is a strategic step to advance in rank. Elijah doubts his eligibility, but Arthur assures him he'll handle all financial and social hurdles. Elijah just needs to appear at the school gates. Arthur instructs Jasmine to take Elijah home, as he needs to handle other issues. Elijah agrees, citing his presence at the academy and expressing gratitude to Arthur, whom he proudly calls a friend. Once they depart, Arthur confronts for hiding, thanking him for successfully manipulating the judge while keeping in the dark, thus managing the situation for now. Arthur tells that despite resolving the chaos, a great warrior's life was still lost. Declares peace, tossing Arthur a hefty gold pouch as a farewell gift. Money that transforms lives. Trouble seeks Arthur only if he allows it. His only worry is if Saw, who answers by transforming again, showcasing her dragon abilities. Later, Arthur adjusts his hair and enters a magic shop to buy a dimension ring. He feigns ignorance as the shopkeeper cautions about the high cost. Arthur casually unveils his gold, leaving the man speechless. He invests his gold in a ring just large enough for a sword and beast core. With his preparations complete, lost in thought on the way to Helstea Manor, He ponders his 2 years under a new identity, gazing out the window and contemplating academy life ahead. Night falls as he returns home, met by tearful glare and mid-sentence scolding for his prolonged absence. Arthur beams, embracing her tightly, proud of her growth, yet suddenly dreading the day she might start dating. A shiver races down his spine. His parents embrace him warmly, quips that his son's hair is the only thing gaining strength. His mother hugs him tightly, overjoyed he's safe, as they tease each other. Vincent and the others warmly welcome him back. While Arthur showers, he discovers a letter from Jasmine. She embarked on a new mission, guided by a terse, emotionless letter. Like her, he regrets missing the chance to say goodbye, but at least he knows where she is. Vincent excitedly announces nearing 1-year milestone at Academy. Arthur feels relieved. Vincent thanks Arthur for his unwavering support, while Arthur hints at a future request, eager first to hear tale of the dungeon. Arthur hesitates, then unfolds a gripping tale that visibly shakes Vincent. He astonished them by single-handedly defeating an Elderwood Guardian. Arthur inquires about his father's progress and learns, remains trapped at Dark Orange despite ongoing mana purification. Arthur hurls the leftover beast core to him, saying, though the core remains potent and could aid his breakthrough, hesitates to embrace such a prized gift. Stunned by Arthur's decision to part with a lucrative S-class core, Arthur desires his father to catch up, while noticing Arthur's progress to Light Orange, vows to surpass him in their next spar, fueling their ongoing rivalry. Elijah finds tranquility in a shower, interrupted by Arthur's abrupt entrance with pajamas, unfazed as Elijah slams the door. Arthur inspects his mask, reflecting on the past 2 years. Notes she's now taller than him as Elijah asks why she took so long. Arthur reveals he was aiding Vincent in securing Academy sponsorship. Elijah is ecstatic to finally become a student. Arthur is eager to learn and push his limits, acknowledging that his powers may make school dull, but finding the opportunity to explore Elijah's dual affinities exciting, especially since lightning drains his mana and ice remains challenging despite a beast will. Concerned about handling, Elijah is reassured by Arthur, who intends to delay revealing his true identity. Elijah is surprised by Arthur's restraint regarding the family. Amidst teasing about a pillow wall, Elijah nervously asks about finding a girlfriend at the academy. Arthur jokes he'll end up with a nerd girl, while Elijah retorts that Arthur's charm will attract many girls. Arthur counters that they're not his type, and both eventually drift to sleep. Arthur awakens to Vincent's news of meeting Gideon, a brilliant and respected inventor. He was currently out of town, but was scheduled to return in 3 days, allowing a brief detour before they meet everyone in the city. Arthur nods, pondering if something significant is happening downtown. Vincent announces that the 3 royal families will make a major public declaration in the city square. Vincent's time with Arthur moves him, and he eagerly anticipates the meeting with Gideon, ready to leverage his past life's wisdom. Appears, reminding Vincent of a meeting, prompting his swift departure. Reveals to his father that he's advanced to the solid orange stage and hands over the intact beast core, noting its unusual resilience despite absorbing all its energy. Arthur ponders deeply, his meditation interrupted by the looming shadow of the beast. Acknowledging the core's retention of the creature's will, he contemplates beast wills, spiritual imprints from potent mana beasts conferring great power. Driven by curiosity, Arthur tests merging the Elderwood Guardian's will withs but finds them incompatible and repelling. That's why couldn't fully absorb the crystal. It all hinges on compatibility. Arthur knows the perfect recipient for the core and starts pondering's well-being. The days pass as he trains and cherishes family moments. Storms in one morning, fed up with his sleep talk, and Body slams him awake for breakfast. Arthur teases her as a brute, and she retorts, reminding him not to skip the meal. Arthur and Elijah explore the town's shops, despite Arthur's empty pockets. Elijah wisely manages his savings. Arthur dispatches to accompany Elijah as he visits the inventor. Arthur and Vincent reach Gideon's. Arthur halts abruptly, questioning the foul stench assaulting his nose. Him simply notes, it's easier to ask what's not causing it. Gideon finally emerges, resembling a decaying corpse untouched by water for decades. His anger fades upon noticing Vincent's guests. Irritated, he grumbles about the royal messengers pressuring him to share his expertise overseas. Arthur questions why anyone would bother, further souring the man's mood. Gideon inquires about the boy, who introduces himself as Arthur, an admirer of Gideon's work. The inventor dismisses apprentices, but Vincent explains Arthur's voluntary arrival, prompting Arthur to present a sketch to solve Gideon's travel problem. Gideon initially dismisses the drawing as childish, until he spots the innovative steam engine design. An idea so fucking out of the world that couldn't even imagine it. He quickly skims through it and finds that there was something missing. Arthur confesses to Gideon that he's crucial details, promising to disclose them once their deal concludes. Gideon, realizing Arthur's uniqueness, sets aside his annoyance and instructs him to find something suitable for his intellect. Hims unveils a lustrous ironized diamond, boasting 5 times the mana capacity for its size, according to the inventor. Yet Arthur stays indifferent. Gideon unveils more treasures, including a secret mirror unseen by others. Arthur dismisses each item with such indifference that Gideon almost drops and shatters the mirror, saved only by Hem's quick catch. Vincent looks on, stunned, as Arthur continues to reject the premier creations of a world renowned. In despair, Gideon unlocks his deepest vaults to unveil his greatest treasures. Protests their purpose, but the old man, frustrated, ignores him. The butler arrives with 2 ornate boxes holding royal pendants. Arthur inspects one and instantly recognizes the phoenix worm silk. Stun both men in the room. Even Vincent's unaware of them. Gideon reveals that phoenix worms, as rare as dragons, are S-class mana beasts known for self-preservation, inspiring the pendant's creation. If something were to go wrong, the pendant creates a shield, then uses its mana to teleport the wearer to their subconscious sanctuary once broken. Intrigued, Arthur inquires about its activation count. Gideon confesses uncertainty, but shares he used 5 rare phoenix cores, estimating each pendant can safely activate twice. Arthur ponders gifting the pendant to his mother or sister, recalling its royal lineage. The inventor affirms the royal houses supplied the cores, but now he shows little interest in them. Arthur's invention and the boy's true motives are what truly matter to him. Arthur pretends it's a birthday gift for his sister, but Gideon sees through the act. Arthur demands to his true intentions before revealing more of his design. Gideon told him that he'll learn during the public announcement. Arthur demands the unvarnished truth, not sugar-coated announcements. Gideon wonders if the boy would cancel the deal, but Arthur, smiling defiantly, ignites his drawing, ready to burn it if needed. Gideon concedes, allowing the determined boy to claim both pendants. Last year, royal families began to consider a second continent beyond. Arthur is stunned, while Vincent, privy to insider rumors, is caught off guard by their confirmation. Arthur demands proof, and Gideon, slightly miffed, insists they have the evidence to back their claims. He told him that they found a rare artifact linked to a beast years ago. A creature camouflaging so flawlessly it appeared invisible. Vincent is stunned, questioning how it was discovered. Gideon thinks how an adventurer, by sheer luck, accidentally killed the beast while targeting another, leading to the artifact's recovery. Even he couldn't grasp its full complexity, with its purpose known only to the royal families. Arthur's threat to destroy the blueprint provokes Gideon to unveil the artifact's purpose. It captures motion and still images with perfect precision. Vincent asserts it's sufficient proof, yet Arthur doubts, noting even Gideon, the top artificer, couldn't figure it out. Gideon defensively claims that if he can't decipher it, no one on this continent could have made it. Arthur argues that claiming another continent exists solely because of Gideon's failure is foolish. Gideon reveals the artifact holds records of all 3 kingdoms, hinting at its otherworldly origin. Arthur stays calm, while an agitated Gideon warns of the peril if powerful mages and inventors lie beyond. Arthur takes it anyways, valuing facts over speculation, confident that his steam engine will reveal the truth. Later, Vincent notices Gideon's unexpected joy after getting the blueprint. He struggles to envision a steam engine powerful enough to propel a ship across the sea. Arthur said society's dependence on mana, neglecting technology's potential, while Vincent rambles on irrelevantly. Arthur marvels at trading harmless tech for powerful weapons, yet the discovery of a new continent thrills him even more. Telepathically informs she's coming. Elijah wraps up his shopping and joins the group. Eager for the kingdom's unification news, Arthur suspects it's linked to the second continent's discovery. Vincent upped the announcement until they suddenly encounter a disturbing scene. A boy is brutally kicked and mocked for his short stature and mana use. The bully orders him to release his mana, and when he refuses, he starts beating him with a pipe. Elijah swiftly tackles the attacker, ensuring the injured kid's safety. The asshole then slaps Elijah. Vincent proposes alerting the guards, but Arthur stops him. Just then a thug spots the Dwarf Kingdom symbol on Elijah's uniform, changing the mood instantly. They claim he's shielding his own and yank his hair. Elijah struggles in the fight. Arthur's approaches with murder in his eyes. Meanwhile, inside the royal carriage, Prince bristles at the low-profile journey, deprived of his parents' presence. The guard assures him of impenetrable security. Subtly noting Princess' desire for discretion, decided to attend solely due to interest. Quips that it's a miracle she's survived in the royal household, suggesting she'd be overwhelmed by books without him. She retorts that she's only there because his first choice canceled, dismisses it and laments leaving his rare, untamed lion-type mana creature behind. Seeking views on his beast, but she wasn't paying him any attention because she's already fixated on someone. At the Plaza, Vincent, in a panic, leaps between them, fearing Arthur is about to commit murder. Bullies taunt him as an old man, striking a nerve as he strives to protect the kids. Arthur calmly calls his name and politely asks him to move aside. Vincent shivers, realizing that those punks are doomed. A green-haired fool swings his pipe, only to be floored by a single crushing blow that leaves the others paralyzed with shock. The strides forward, overconfident in his noble sword technique, boasting of a generational move. He attempts to deceive Arthur with a sudden feint, launching an ultra-fast lunge. Arthur effortlessly sidesteps, then smashes the kid with a mana-reinforced pipe, shattering it with a powerful blow. Arthur steps forward, fists clenched, ready to end the fight. The leader mocks him and prepares his trident's fist technique, but as Arthur draws near, his calm, deadly blue eyes strike fear into, reminding him of his father's presence. Despite this, charges, only to be met with a brutal punch that floors him. Bleeding and determined, he channels magic for another attempt. An icy shield materializes, deflecting the blow entirely. Princess steps forward to shield them. Her sudden arrival stops the chaos, freezing the scene, just as demands answers. Panicked, the bullies drop to their knees, pleading for mercy. They insist they were peaceful until Arthur suddenly attacked. Elijah attempts a defense but interrupts, declaring they were the true victims. Elijah quietly aids the dwarf boy, while sees his injuries and immediately detects the bullies' deceit. Her brother believes them and starts interrogating Arthur about the truth of their claims. Arthur dismisses the oblivious with indifference. Seeing this, the bullies believe Arthur was done for. The royal escort blocks Arthur, ensuring he properly addresses the prince. Arthur seizes the knight's hand and was ready to break it in half. The knight admits his harsh language flares up against nonsense, but Arthur's strong grip unsettles him. Vincent swiftly intervenes, clarifying that Arthur accused the bullies of lying. Can't believe Vincent is here. Vincent says they stumbled upon the scene on their way to the announcement. The dwarf boy's bloody cough reveals the truth. Can't overlook the fact that someone's gravely injured. He turned to the bullies and asked them for their identities. Declares himself as House Trident's first son, causing to pause, aware of their significant support to the royal family, despite being the aggressor. This causes to hesitates, tries to speak, but her brother intervenes. Advises making peace and moving forward, noting no serious injuries and urging against escalation. Confident in his father's wealth and influence, anticipated this, proving himself untouchable once more. Arthur refuses to let it go, quickly asking Uncle Vincent about the communication scroll. Upon grasping the situation, Arthur promptly contacts the director of Academy, prompting to scoff. Irritated and expecting Vincent, thinks Arthur looks foolish for involving someone so high-ranking. Her tone shifts from cold to warm, flirtatious upon realizing Arthur is speaking, leaving everyone else behind. Arthur reveals Trident and his group are racially bullying students and wielding deadly magic in the city. Panic strikes the offenders, making them nervously glance at each other. Feigns ignorance, casually asking what he did wrong, sparking a flicker of hope in him. Convinced her allegiance is to his family's wealth, he discreetly threatens to leave the academy, believing a loan might convince her. To his shock, unhesitatingly sides with Arthur, instantly declaring the expulsion of and his group. The prince approaches Arthur to apologize for his earlier judgment. He confessed to acting impulsively, not embodying the dignity of a true prince. Arthur regrets losing his temper, but the prince admires his resolve, expressing relief that those troublemakers from House Trident are finally gone from the academy. After talking, the prince returns to the carriage, remarking on Arthur's oddity, acknowledging his strength yet sensing deeper layers beneath. His sister, suddenly distracted, stands up and invites Arthur for tea once they're back at school. Arthur, with no reason to refuse, calmly accepts the invitation. Behind him, Elijah watches, jealousy barely concealed, as the typically aloof princess shows genuine interest, leaving him and the prince equally stunned. In the heart of city, a curious crowd awaited a life-altering announcement about a newly discovered continent, but was thinking about something in his mind. Arthur was troubled by the idea that another land had been secretly studying, using disguised mana animals and strange recording devices, and he questioned his drive to expedite connection to this distant continent. If these people constituted a genuine threat, securing Sedge, even by a preemptive strike, may be critical. Lost in thought, his mother sensed his unease and asked if something was wrong. He quickly reassured her with a smile that all was well. She warmly assured him she would always worry, but never hinder his pursuit. Arthur wanted to tell her that she has nothing to worry but couldn't lie. He thanked her softly, filled with gratitude. Suddenly, mages conjured a radiant screen above the crowd, offering a clear view as the king took center stage alongside other leaders. The king addressed the crowd, recognizing the enduring human-elf conflicts and the dwarves' role as mere business allies. They resolved to abandon this mindset. Over the past few years, he and fellow leaders tirelessly pursued continental unity, notably opening adventuring parties to all three races 2 years ago. Last year, Academy brought together students from and, fostering connections through shared education. Arthur was troubled by the idea that another land was secretly studying, with disguised mana animals and strange recording devices, and he questioned his desire to connect to this distant continent. If these individuals posed a genuine threat, securing Edge, even through a preemptive strike, could be critical to foster cooperation for the continent's survival and future growth. The crowd erupted with enthusiastic approval, clearly supporting the message. Elven kings stepped forward, honored to partake in this historic moment, echoing the human king's words. Despite their growing unity, much within its borders remains unknown. Untamed lands loomed, highlighting their limited knowledge. But his announcement was crucial. They had found undeniable proof of another continent across the seas. The crowd erupted in frenzy. He reassured them, confirming the continent's existence despite lingering questions. They were stunned to discover that the enigmatic land had also tried to contact, despite neither possessing the technology to close the gap. Amidst the shocked murmurs, the king urged unity, declaring pride in their shared homeland despite differences, hoping future generations would embrace this bond. He questioned the crowd's belief in the vision, and after a moment of silence, they erupted in applause, affirming their support for the future. A groundbreaking initiative was unveiled, steering a new era of exploration and alliances. 6 exceptional individuals were appointed by the royal families to protect and represent the continent, chosen for their courage, wisdom, strength, and leadership. The 6 lances emerged as symbols of unity and guardians of its future. Each was given a unique ring that represented their function and was known across the continent. The identities were revealed. Earthborn and Baron. His name startled the audience, freezing Elijah in disbelief. Arthur tensed, reliving unpleasant memories of his brother, betrayal, and escape from justice. Now exuded power and prestige. Arthur sets aside his worries for the day, focusing on his little sister's birthday. Dressed sharply, he's every bit the gentleman, ready for the celebration. When insists on joining, he gently advises her to stay back, hinting at potential spies at the party and avoiding unnecessary risks. He assures her someone will return with food. Spirits soar with that simple assurance. With cheerful farewells, the night bursts to life as guests flood the mansion with music and chatter. Arthur, poised at the entrance, greets everyone with his usual charm, catching the eye of a girl's mother who nudges her daughter to ask him for a dance. Elijah, nestled in a corner, charms a pretty girl with a lunch invitation. True to form, Elijah fumbles, spilling his drink all over himself, causing the girl to awkwardly step back. Arthur swiftly averts his gaze, sparing his friend further embarrassment. The evening's highlight emerges. His mother playfully covers her eyes and leads her into the living room, unveiling a surprise gathering of loved ones. Arthur steps forward, inviting his sister to dance, is clearly taken aback. The father signals the musicians, and as music fills the air, the siblings begin their graceful dance, captivating every guest with their flawless and emotive performance. Amidst the festivities, Gideon, the ever-inventive genius, unexpectedly arrives. He's here to discuss business, even at a birthday party. The scene cuts outside. A lavish royal carriage halts at the estate, remains inside, ensuring the moment shines undisturbed. She discreetly sends her servant to deliver a gift, allowing the family their time. Meanwhile, inside, Gideon pulls Arthur aside for a private conversation. Arthur, already cautious, questions if the trip was solely for council matters. Gideon shakes his head, admitting that he brought a gift, but more importantly, that the council has approved Arthur's blueprint, and that building has begun. The ex-monarchs now refer to themselves as the council. Arthur congratulates Gideon on his well-deserved triumph, but Gideon dismisses fame and fortune as mere tools, seeking something more valuable than the council's reach. Gideon's admirers swarm him, granting Arthur a second of until arrives, breathless and apologetic for her delay, to which Arthur reassures her swiftly. Acknowledging her hectic schedule as student council secretary, he warmly greets her, noting how long it's been since they last met. Now standing face to face, notices Arthur's new height and they start catching up, with Arthur admiring her progress from sneaking meals with the staff to thriving at top academy. Playfully glares, thinking he's teasing her about her past escapades. Arthur sincerely acknowledges her growth, observing the intrigued gazes of the boys around her. Gets flustered and told him that she doesn't have a boyfriend. Arthur, oblivious to the hint, chuckles and offers to vet any guy she brings home, cautioning he won't be easier to impress unlike his father. His face falls, stung by Arthur's continued oblivion. Gideon arrives, bows, and gracefully departs, offering them privacy. Gideon mocks Arthur for his constant female company, highlighting his genuine interest and questioning his intentions with her. Arthur calmly suggests that feelings stem more from gratitude and a hero complex than true affection, saying that she'll realize this in time. Gideon dismisses Arthur's, redirecting the conversation to his true intent, securing Arthur's mind with the council's resources. Arthur regretted giving the steam engine plans since he didn't want to interrupt natural evolution. Gideon, seeing untapped potential, feels Arthur has bigger aspirations. Exhausted, Arthur asserts unequivocally that he has no desire to pursue personal goals. Gideon quickly suggests a compromise, periodic consultations in exchange for unwavering support as Arthur's supplier of artifacts and resources. After a moment of deliberation, Arthur agrees, sealing their agreement with a handshake. Amidst the birthday gifts, eagerly unwraps each one as Arthur's attention is drawn to a peculiar package. Eagerly tears open the oddly shaped package, revealing an exquisitely crafted elven bow and arrows, with a folded letter beside them. Arthur reads the letter, while admires the elegant weapon. Arthur remains puzzled over the sender, but we know it's his future. Extends her hand, demanding the gift from her brother. Arthur grins, unveiling 2 small jewelry boxes, one for their mother. Discovers the phoenix feather necklace Arthur received from Gideon, an enchanted pendant meant to protect them in Arthur's or their father's absence. Mrs. appears shocked by the extravagant necklace, as their father calmly reveals only 2 exist on the whole continent. Arthur tenderly clasps the necklace around his neck, wishing her a heartfelt happy birthday. The scene transitions to a high-security facility exclusive to council members, where Arthur walks alongside Gideon with special access. Amidst their casual conversation in the facility, Gideon casually notes Arthur's recent, quietly passed birthday. 4 months have swiftly passed since celebration. Despite the delay, Gideon gifts Arthur a small box. Arthur thanked him for making it for him. Gideon dismisses it, saying that it's nothing in comparison to Arthur's assistance with the steam engine project. He mentions a persistent concern. Did Arthur hide 2 elemental affinities, hinting he might secretly be a quadra-elemental mage? Arthur's confirmation hits like a punchline, leaving Gideon breathless as he realizes the bracelet he gifted was meant to suppress half of Arthur's magic. Bewildered, he questions Arthur's timing, to which Arthur smirks, revealing that impressing Gideon increases his chances of freebies. Gideon, stunned by the earth-shattering revelation, demands proof, which Arthur eagerly offers. The shipyard's rapid progress leaves Arthur in awe. The ship was almost completed. Gideon boasts that by the time Arthur starts his first day of classes, they will be ready to set sail. Alone now, Arthur marvels at Gideon's incredible speed. In just a few months, Arthur is struggling to comprehend the construction of a steam-powered ship. He abandons informal training after becoming aware of the dangers of the continent. Armed with Gideon's artifact, he decides to improve his wind and earth magic to match his fire and water abilities. Arthur, lost in thought, collides with a burly man carrying 2 women. A mere local thug, Arthur opts to walk by discreetly, but the man seizes him by the head, crossing the line. Arthur initially maintains his composure, ignoring the taunts, but physical contact pushes him over the edge. Arthur's lethal glare halts the man, suddenly cautious of his provocation. As the man brags about teaching at academy, Arthur freezes. With a flick of his wrist, he drops a pendant at the man's feet, leaving him stunned. The brute didn't notice Arthur taking it. Speechless and shaken, the guy watches Arthur walk away. Arthur arrives home and skillfully calms the chaos as his sister and tackle him, lifting them gently with a breeze of wind magic. He asks about their parents' whereabouts and replies they're in the living room with Elijah, examining a package from Academy for both Arthur and Elijah. Arthur discovers his official uniform, feeling the weight of his journey from lost child to king, baby, and now Academy student. As dawn breaks, Elijah attempts to rouse him by poking his feet, prompting to leap onto Elijah, leaving clawed marks on his cheeks. Arthur rises to get ready for school, while Elijah stands dressed and waiting. Buttoning his uniform, Arthur is questioned by Elijah about his choice to attend academy as a scholar mage rather than pursuing battle magic. Arthur seeks deeper magical knowledge, but Elijah warns that choosing a scholar's path might clash with more combative mage students. He's anxious Arthur might hospitalize half the students for disrespecting him. Arthur shrugs, vowing to behave. Sulks over breakfast, clearly unhappy about not attending the academy yet. Her brother's uniform only fuels her desire. Arthur and Elijah get ready to leave after breakfast. Arthur warmly hugs his parents, playfully ruffles hair, and reminds everyone to wear the pendants he gave them. His mother and sister proudly flaunt theirs. His father, eager for inclusion, asks if his son has any final words for him. Arthur smirks, warning him not to torch the house during training. Arthur arrives at the bustling Cyrus Academy, where students converge from all sides, some on magical beasts that captivate onlookers. A senior commands the crowd to line up before the grand white building for the entrance ceremony. Students must attend and approach the front desk individually to check in. Arthur approaches the registration desk, leaving the receptionist speechless at his rare wind and earth affinities. She quickly regains composure and signals him to proceed. In the packed auditorium, Arthur and Elijah weave through the buzzing crowd to find 2 seats. As they settle, Academy chairwoman takes the stage. Her piercing gaze locks onto Arthur, punctuated by a knowing wink. With a snap of her fingers, the room falls silent. Arthur is stunned by her commanding presence, not from doubt in her strength, but from witnessing such influence firsthand. She apologizes for the abrupt silence, joking about her voice not carrying as far at her age. After her introduction, she skips the usual formalities, noting this moment calls for a personal touch. Proudly, she reveals the Academy's record enrollment of elves and dwarves, choosing to welcome students through representatives of their unity. She gestures to the entrance, urging applause as the Academy Student Council strides onto the stage. The first 3 members arrive quietly. The moment the final member enters, the atmosphere transforms. She magnetizes the crowd, lights up with excitement, prompting a smile from Arthur. Finally emerges, her mere presence commanding respect and admiration from the entire hall. Rumors swirled about her year-long mentorship under director at the Academy. An unprecedented event, as the director has never mentored anyone before. His talent speaks for itself. Steps forward and congratulate the newcomers on their admission to the continent's top magical academy. As a fellow first year, she offers her year-long observations of the Academy's structure, emphasizing both academic problems and persistent biases against scholar mages. She emphasizes that if minor uniform differences can cause division, racial differences could be even more divisive. She urges students to abandon inherited prejudices and draw inspiration from the royal family's unity in forming the council. Her heartfelt speech earns thunderous applause, leaving Arthur stunned as proudly calls her Mama. He mentally notes to inquire later. Elijah is clearly smitten, while Arthur remains unsurprised by his irresistible charm. Once the ceremony ends, students flood outside for fresh air. A nearby commotion erupts. Students taunt a dwarf over his height. Elijah, exasperated, intervenes. Arthur observes from afar, contemplating the immense task faces in eradicating such behavior. Nicholas, a human bully, taunts the dwarf until challenges him to a pride-defending duel. Nicholas instantly agrees, revealing a magical artifact in his uniform that activates a dual barrier, intriguing Arthur with its genius for creating safe combat zones. Elijah cheers wildly for Bronze and Boar as Arthur coolly assesses the match. Nicholas reveals himself as a dark red core mage. Is a black core, lunges with his axe as Nicholas swiftly conjures duel. A remarkable achievement for his core level, proving he's both skilled and well-trained. The dwarf stands firm, his axe slicing through attacks with formidable might. Nicholas attempts a sneak attack, but swiftly counters with nimble footwork. Nicholas resorts to a dirty trick, blinding the unyielding dwarf by kicking debris into his eyes. Nicholas ends the duel with a decisive blow the instant the dwarf stumbles, as the magical barrier falls. The match ends, but he stomps over, breaks the dwarf's arm, and as the victim lies defenseless, Elijah seizes his moment to become the hero of his dreams. Just as he's about to intervene, Arthur casually calls for the student council president, leaving Nicholas startled and searching. Elijah glares at Arthur, frustration boiling as his heroic moment is snatched away, heightening the awkward tension. Nicholas seizes Arthur, his irritation evident. Arthur calmly asserts that the duel is over, and anything further crosses into bullying. Shoving Arthur aside, Nicholas storms off, muttering petty insults. Arthur dismisses the words and starts to leave, but unexpectedly spits on Nicholas' neck as he walks by. He snaps, fury boiling over, ready to explode. Arthur deflects blame to the real culprit just as the student council enters, changing the atmosphere. The vice president then addresses rules, conduct, and the academy's strict no-discrimination policy. His mind drifts, consumed by thoughts of Arthur. She couldn't find him at the ceremony and began to doubt his attendance. Director confirmed Arthur was on campus, yet the thought of him missing the speech left her anxious and uncertain about their reunion. Should she play it cool or be friendly? What if he finds her first? These thoughts swirl until the vice president interrupts, checking if she's okay and suggesting to cancel their meetings. Dismisses him, insisting she's fine, then notices Arthur casually observing the scene. The vice president meets her gaze and starts the briefing. That redhead is Nicholas from. He was a standout student last year, while the boy next to him seems to be a freshman. Likely a commoner, absent from noble family gatherings. A council member spots Arthur, her eyes sparking with recognition. Both girls immediately sense that Nicholas is about to do something profoundly stupid. This motherfucker has no idea he's poking a goddamn dragon. Steps up to confront Nicholas, questioning his intent to use his magic. He immediately shits his pants, claiming he was just finishing a friendly duel with when some random first year just happened to intervene. Arthur gives a cheeky little wave, while steps in, demanding the actual fucking story. Gives the side-eye, asking if she knows this chaotic dumbass. Puffs out her chest, proudly announcing Arthur's dad has been serving her family forever, basically screaming, "We're family, bitch." Arthur casually drops that they've been living together, sending his brain into a blue screen of death as she pictures all the scenarios that entails. While she's lost in horny confusion, the vice president finally decides to do his job, demanding an explanation from Nicholas and reminding him that drawing a weapon outside a formal duel breaks academy rules. Nicholas, still trying to save his pathetic ass, insists he was just trying to spook the kid, not actually hurt him. Utterly unimpressed and completely spineless, Clive decides to just let it slide for now. Shows no mercy. She asserts that Nicholas broke academy rules, warning him that it could mean suspension. Had he actually harmed anyone, she warns, expulsion would be the least of his fucking worries. Finally admitting defeat, Nicholas mumbles a pathetic apology for being an angry little shit. Arthur ignores him so hard it's practically an art form, while calmly informs Nicholas that his fuck-up is going on his permanent record, and he should piss off before things get worse. As the losers retreat, immediately turns on Arthur, pissed that he caused a scene on day one. She remembers director mentioning Arthur's wish to stay under the radar. This isn't helping at all. Disappointment floods Arthur's face. He argues she's judging from a brief encounter, stressing he never meant to fight but remains firm, insisting he should have anticipated the consequences. Arthur holds his ground, pointing out that the dickhead Nicholas was about to rearrange the dwarf's entire face. Without his intervention, that poor dwarf would be a smear on the pavement. Elijah, sensing the incoming shitstorm, tells Arthur to just let it go, reminding him kinda has a point. Done with being misunderstood by every single moron in this goddamn school, Arthur just turns and walks away. The vice president, feeling his tiny authority threatened, sneers, asking if Arthur was raised in a fucking barn. Arthur sighs. Fed up with being belittled, Clive confronts Arthur once more. Arthur unleashes a powerful pressure, freezing everyone in place. Before anyone can process it, Clive is launched into the fucking stratosphere, flailing like a cartoon character. Rushes to his side while the others watch in shock as he groans on the floor. Fed up with the chaos, he silently walks away. Even dares not intervene, as his frustration lingers heavily in the air.